Hey, welcome to the Social Club. I'm back. Celebrate. We're here. The Premier League's back as well. You know, slightly more importantly. First up, we're going to discuss this week. Hull City Tigers took on the champions and won. So the question, Pedro, I'll start with you on this. Did Hull Leicester? Allow me to qualify that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does that even mean?
It means that a team against the odds unifying to become better than the sum of their parts and to get the victory.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Well, they beat Leicester, didn't they? Leicester are going to find this every game they play now. They're the champions. Everyone's going to be gunning against them. No one's going to give them any respect, which is mental anyway, because people should have stopped giving them respect at Christmas last year when they were clearly bossing the league and everyone can see how good they are, but no one did it for some reason. So they're going to find that everywhere they go now, and this is where they're going to have to rely on their big players, and that means their big players are going to have their heads screwed on, and that's obviously directed at Mahrez, who clearly just wants to get off, doesn't he? So, let's be honest. And Jamie Vardy's really annoyed now.
I don't think Mahrez is a big player anymore, not without Kante. You can see him kind of lost, because Kante did all the groundwork for him. Mahrez didn't really have to do any running. We're not under Kante now, he's gone. I mean, I'm not saying the other two midfield are terrible players, they're not, but Mahrez has a lot more to do. Kante's not there anymore, and you can see him, he almost spat his dummy out on Saturday because he had to do a lot more of the legwork. Yeah, and I don't think Leicester are going to be anywhere near as good as they were.
It's an interesting one because everyone was saying, look, all the stories come out about. I'll be honest, I hadn't even looked at Hull in any way, shape or form, but of course all the build-up, James, is all the disharmony at the club and what have you, the managerial situation, the fact that they've got like 4 senior players, etc, etc. But in some respects, you know, it was almost written that they were actually going to give Leicester a bit of a hard time.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone was like lowest points. That was the line, wasn't it? They're going to finish there. I still think it'll get to November. They'll have no players and they'll be really struggling. But they did come together and do very well. Livermore had to play centre back and I thought did really well. It's a weird one. You've obviously got the protest going on, and the win actually kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the protest a little bit, because the story then became how have Hull City beaten Leicester instead of that protest, which is obviously a lot of people are very upset about what's going on there. And so, yeah, it did take the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Isn't that pure just like modern media, though? The club's on its arse. There's all kinds of things going on. The stands could be falling. What do you want? You got 3 points. What more do you want? When we season tickets now $5,000, you got 3 points. You should be happy.
But we've seen that happen a couple of times, haven't we? Like, because we saw all the Arsenal fans kicking off, and don't worry, we will. I know, look, Robbie's not here.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I wish I was Robbie.
Which camera are we on? Which camera? Robbie, you're a shit out. And sixth. You'll be lucky if you get sixth.
We will come to that in due course. But yeah, you know, these happen with protests where the football becomes, the media make the football more important, don't they? You know, so it does take the shine off protests when shit like that happens. It's almost like you look at the ticket protest with Liverpool last year. If we'd actually not thrown it away, it probably might have had less of an impact somehow. But, you know, Arsenal had this, you know, they were going for Wenger. Everton did something similar recently as well, and then you started winning football matches, and Bobby Martinez was fine.
Because you've been going over.
Yeah.
He was fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's great because you know, if Leicester, if nothing else, then what Leicester did last season, which shows the football's mad. And
it's mental, yeah, but I think everyone now is kind of clued into the way they play. They've got 2 fast men up front, and like, I know Hull they've got no players, but they just basically sat back and didn't allow them to get in behind them. Everyone, like Ped said before, you know, everyone's going to have a crack at them now. They're champions. They're not whipping boys. They're expected to go out and win now.
The first thing I looked at was I looked at the possession, and Leicester had 49% possession, and I was like, that's too much. They've had too much. They're also using the ball right.
You've been in this game too much.
They had too much dominance in that game, but I couldn't agree more. And I think I was chatting with Phil from 100% LCFC, and he was saying Mahrez is a funny one because he's obviously player of the year last year, but he does drift in and out of games. Yeah. In our season predictors, I was saying that they would finish 12th. I really think Leicester are going to. I don't think that's the worst season ever. If you go back 24 months, they'd be happy with 12th. But I think these teams know what they're doing, and Leicester, I just think they lacked a bit of energy there. Part of that is Kante, but I just think it's really tough to kind of. They had so much momentum last season.
Jimmy Vardy had 2 or 3 clear-cut chances as well. I mean, last year all 3 of them would have went down.
It's funny how that happens, though,
yeah.
isn't it, in footy? And look, and we'll probably say this a lot throughout today, is that it's only one game of football, isn't it? But sometimes that happens. Sometimes you find teams come up from the Championship and carry momentum with them, and other times teams that were looking great the season before in the top division, it just you miss a couple of chances.
I hate playing promoted teams first game of the season.
It's not the one you
want.
It's
the worst time to play them because they've normally got a full squad, which I know Hull didn't. Normally got a full squad, got all that enthusiasm. If you play them at home, the fans are normally literally banging drums, which is what you find with promoted teams. And they've got everything going for them. And
do you guys have music when goals go in?
We do have a guy who has a drum, and he comes and goes. He struggles with his rhythm.
Just make sure he goes.
But only when we're in the Premier League, of course. We're in the Championship. He doesn't bother.
Yeah. No, but it's the worst time to play them. But fair play to Hull. No manager.
They had nothing to lose as well, didn't they? They had absolutely nothing to lose.
The funny thing about Hull is Steve Bruce, I believe, is the 4th favourite to get the job. That just shows you what kind of state they're in. So fair play for them. He had loads of injuries.
I bet Alan Kirbishley's still on the list.
Oh,
he's on every list.
He's gone to every book. He's in London and put a $5 down.
He's like 25-1 for every Premier League Championship managerial role ever.
He started loads of fake accounts on Twitter to get the rumour going.
Yeah. Amazing.
No, it's fair play to them. And I think Leicester, I don't think they're going to struggle as such this season, but it's going to be tough for them. But there is still 7-8 Premier League teams who will play them and not give them respect because they'll think they're better than them. Yeah. So they'll always have a chance in those games anyway. When they play all the big boys, all the said big boys and West Ham, they'll think those teams will have a go at them. So yeah, there's still plenty of points for Leicester. I still think they'll do all right.
So I think mid-table 12th is probably that's where I would put them.
Thank you.
Yeah. Christian Fuchs was saying that, I think he was on the radio last week saying, a 10th place finish for Leicester is a great season as far as they're concerned, because the worst thing you'd want is to go. They've seen it. Look, you can't go from the bottom team to the top team in a season and then not be wary of it all going completely tits up after another season.
And that's why the start of the season is so crucial for them, because if you don't start very well, then that narrative is there. It's asking to be sort of spoken about.
Right.
Oh God, are they going to? Yeah, exactly.
See, I haven't said that though. I know it's Leicester. No, I'm not trying to compare Leicester to United or any other team, but there's a stupid statistic that is it 80% of the teams that have won the league lost their first game of the season. Something ridiculous like that anyway. And I'm not saying that Leicester are going to go and win the title again, because I don't think they're going to. I think they'll finish mid-table, but something to be wary of.
Be interested. Their next game's against Arsenal, so there's a lot of pressure on both of them.
And as you said, they have lost their best player as well. Yeah. They have lost them, and that's going to take a lot of replacing. And if Mahrez is being a bit of a tit, then that's not going to rectify itself till the window shuts.
Yeah.
So it could be in for a tough couple of weeks, but after that. See, I've got this thing anyway. I don't think the season really starts. I know it does. I know people will write this in the comments. But it doesn't really start till after the transfer window shuts, because that international break, you've got players still thinking about leaving. You've got players still coming in. It doesn't settle down. I know there's 9 points up for Gabs, but
surely he should still be putting himself in the window, shouldn't he? If Mahrez really wants to go, he should be.
Does that really matter? Does that really matter anymore? If someone wants to sign you, they probably made up. You're just.
To be fair, though,
it's not
like Arsene Wenger needs an excuse not to sign a player. You know what I mean? So
to be fair, though, Arsenal are crying out for a tricky inside right, attacking midfielder. They're crying out for that kind of player.
The point with that's a good point with Hull, is that. So QPR, we got taken over when we were in the Premier League. They didn't want to spend any money. Then it got taken over. In about 3 days, we bought about 8 players, and we just about survived that season. So for Hull City fans, there is a little bit of hope there. It looks like they are going to be taken over. Those guys were at the game. So it looks like that's going to go through. And if they can, and then sneak some players in.
Though?
They did have they did have no in their hand. But if that can get done and they can get some players in before the end of the window,
it's not some players though. It's effectively a full squad, isn't it?
But still, I don't necessarily think it's that, is it? Because they're talking about they've got like 13 players that they're happy with. No. But I mean, if you're talking about realistically, if you wanted to be more certain of survival, great. But if you can pick up 3 or 4. And you get a bit of luck, you know what I mean? They're going to struggle either
Oh, yeah, I saw them play us last year, and they looked like you were playing a Premier League team.
About Hull?
It's just
It's just
whatever,
isn't it?
whatever, great, unbelievable.
Ped comment magnet. Anyway, we're on that. We'll wrap up there for there. Still to come on Social Club this week. We're going to be talking Arsenal, we promised, and we will, and it's going to be glorious. We're also talking about probably one of the most shocking misjudgments of how a club should interact with a fan base. Honestly, if you don't know what's going on at Charlton Athletic right now, stay tuned for that. It is absolutely phenomenal.